Okay, this is Math 2, Unit 13, Worksheet 2. We are doing homework notes. Just a quick reminder that you will need to know these formulas here. These are ones that you will need to work on and have memorized. The volume for a prism or a cylinder is big B times H. The volume of a pyramid or cone is 1/3 big B times H. What does big B stand for in both of these equations? It's down here. It's the what? Area of the base. Is the area of the base always going to be the same? I'm sorry, is the base always going to be the same? The base might be a circle, making it a cylinder or a cone. It might be a square, a triangle. Do you get that the base can be any number of things? Okay, so depending on the base, your big B, you're going to use different formulas. Pi r squared for the circle, length times width for a rectangle, base times height, divide by 2 for the triangle. Does that make sense? Yes? All right. Sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed. What's missing here that the other two have? Is there a big B on this one? No, because there is no base for a sphere. We talked about that the other day. So 4/3 pi r to the third power. Okay, did everybody grab a calculator when I asked? How many of you have calculators that have the pi key on it? Okay, you're more than welcome to use the pi key. Those of you that do not, you're going to use 3.14. So our answers may come out a little different. No, that's because the pi, using your pi key is going to give you more of an accurate answer. If you don't have a pi key, it's going to come out slightly different. Okay, I am going to do number 1 with you. A cylinder with a base of 12 inches squared and a height of 3 inches. What does this piece mean right here? Is it the length of the base or the area of the base? And how can you tell? Is it like, it says it's a cylinder, so is this like your radius, diameter, or the area of the base? I'll give you a hint. Inches squared. Which one is it? It's the area. Okay, all these other ones down here don't give you the area of the base, just these top two here. That is the area of the base. What letter do we use for the area of the base? Uppercase what? Uppercase B. All right, a cylinder with a base of 12 inches squared. A cylinder is here. Volume equals big B times H. What is big B if the area of the base is 12? Do you agree it's 12? 12 inches squared times what's the height? Right here, guys, what's the height? 3, so 3 inches. What's 12 times 3? I heard somebody whisper it. Is it 36? Inches to what power? Inches squared, inches to the first. You add your exponents. Inches to what power? Cubed. Is volume always units cubed? Yeah. Yes, it is. Area is always squared, and then you multiply by the height. That makes it cubed. Okay. On number 2, I'm not going to do, but what is the area of the base on number 2? This right here is the area of the base. Do you guys agree? How can we tell? The squared. Okay. Next one I'm going to do is number 4. Now, number 4 is also a cylinder just like 1, and here's where a lot of kids were struggling in my class yesterday. This 7, does this 7 yards represent the radius, the diameter, or the area of the base? Which one is it? Let's start backwards. Is there any way that this is the area of the base? No, it doesn't say 7 yards squared and have the bottom piece shaded. It's pointing to this segment here, which is the what? It's the what? Radius. Okay, so do you guys agree R is 7 and the height is 11? Do we all agree with that? Yes? What was that? Volume is always cubed. And the reason is because, do you agree they gave us that the area was inches squared, which that always is because it's length times width. And then you have another 3 inches and you add your exponents. There's a 2 here and a 1 here. 2 plus 1 is 3. So volume is always cubed. Length times width times height is always cubed. Got it? In this case, you're dealing with the circle, the r squared, and then the height. Okay, so back here, one more time. Is big B 7, yes or no? No. Big B is the area of the base. What base is this right here? What base is that? What shape, guys? Square, circle, triangle, what is it? Circle. What's the formula for the area of a circle? That's another thing you're going to have to know. Pi. Oh, come on, guys. Radius squared. Okay, so uppercase B is 3.14 times, if you're using your pi key, just leave it as pi. What's our radius in this picture? 7 squared. So you're plugging in your calculator, 49 times 3.14. Actually, you can, don't plug it in yet, just leave it like this for now, and I'll tell you what we're going to do at the end. Okay, volume is this a cylinder or a cone? A cylinder. So it's the area of the base times the height. This is the area of the base, 3.14 times 49, times what is the height of this cylinder? What is it? 11. Okay, plug that in your calculator. 3.14 times 49 times 11. This part right here is coming from the area of the base. And it's the area of the base times the height. And if you're using your pi key, again, it's going to come out a bit different than what the rest of you guys are getting. Can anybody tell me what you got? Round to the nearest tenths place. Starts with the 1. 1/6. Anyone else?
92.
Thank you. 92.5. And our units are yards, so it's yards what? Yards cubed. And the reason is because there's a yards here. I didn't write it and I should have. There's a yards there. There's a yards there. Yards squared times yards is yards cubed. Questions? All right. I'm going to move on to number 13. I'm sorry, number 5. Moving on to number 5. What shape is number 5? Prism or pyramid? Pyramid. So it's the one that has the 1/3. I'll tell you guys how to work the 1/3 in. Okay, what's the shape of the base if it's 10 by 10? What's the shape of the base? It is a square. Does everybody agree? So whether it's a square or rectangle, it's going to be length times width, which is 10 times 10. 10 feet times 10 feet. What's the area of the base? Diego, can you tell us what the area of the base is? It's right here. I didn't hear you. What was that? Oh, it's 10 times 10 is what I have. You're adding, multiply, sorry. 100. 100 feet squared, right? Because it's feet times feet, 100 feet squared. Does everybody agree with him?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay, now this next part is tricky, very tricky, and if you're not being careful, you're going to miss it on quizzes and tests. What is the height for this problem? What does it look like the height is for this problem? Do you think 13, people might use a 13 as the height? Yeah, but that's not right. It has a special name. This one right here is called the slant height. Do you remember what we said on the previous day, that the height always has to be perpendicular to the base? Do you guys remember when I said that? I think it was Friday. The height has to be perpendicular to the base. Did they give us the height or the slant height? And do we use slant height when we're figuring out the volume? We do not. So we have to do some math to find this height. So I'm going to redraw that triangle right here. Do you guys agree this is the length I know right here, and it is 13? Do you guys agree with that looking at the slant height picture? Can you guys see the right triangle right there? Can you guys see it? Okay. Everybody see the right triangle in there, yes or no? Okay. The height we don't know. That's h. I'm going to call it h. The hypotenuse is 13. What's this leg down here? Does anybody know looking at the square base? What is it? 5. Does everybody see? How did you guys, a few of you said 5. How did you get 5? What is that? Half of the square base? He's correct. Okay, so what can we use to find the missing height if it's a right triangle and I know two sides? Anybody remember? Pythagoras Theorem. So h squared plus 5 squared equals the hypotenuse squared, which is 13. Work that out on your own. 5 squared is 25, 13 squared is 169. Subtract and square root. Subtract and square root, and this is a definite need to know. After you subtract and square root, what do you end up with? H is what? 12. Okay, so we are now ready to find the volume. Volume equals, which one are we on? The one with no fraction or the one with the 1/3 fraction? This is a pyramid, so no fraction or a fraction. The one with the fraction. So 1/3. Area of the base, we already found that was the first thing we did. What was the area of the base? Diego found it for us. What is it? What was it? 100 feet squared times the height. We just found the height to be what? 12 feet. Do you guys agree? All right. So the way you would type this in your calculator, especially if you don't have, like these calculators have fraction keys. If you don't have a fraction key or you don't know how to use it, you do 100 times 12 divide by 3. That's what you plug in your calculator. 100 times 12 and then divide by 3. 100 times 12, technically times this 1, but that 1 doesn't change anything. 100 times 12 times that 1 and then divide by 3. Go ahead and plug that in now. What is it? 400. 400 feet what? Cubed. Did everybody get that? And I forgot to ask on number 4, those of you using the pi key, did you guys, was your answer off just a smidge? Any of you using the pi key? No one's using it? Okay. All right. Questions on number 5.
What does it say for what's on the left side of the triangle on the little diagram?
That right there?
Yeah.
That's a 12. I know. I looked at it after I wrote it. It is a 12. Okay, the height was 12. All right, questions so far? Okay, I will do one more with you, and I'll let you guys decide between 6 or 11. You decide between 6 or 11. 6? Okay. What is this called? We've talked about this before. It's not a sphere. It is a hemisphere, half a sphere. So what formula am I going to use? First, second, or third? Third, but I'm going to take this and cut it in half. Is cutting in half the same as multiplying by 1/2? Yeah? So if I set the volume equals half of my volume for the sphere. 4/3 pi r cubed. Do you guys see how that worked? Yes? Okay. There is no area of the base here, so 1/2 4/3 pi, what is r in this picture? Does everyone agree it's 7? Can you guys plug in your calculators really quick? 7 times 7 times 7. What did you get? 7 times 7 times 7 is 343. Okay, so here is what you do. I'm leaving the 1/2 for the very end. You're going to do 4 times 3.14 times 343. 4 times 3.14 times, what did we say 7 cubed was? 343. All over 3. So does everybody see where this fraction is coming from? The 4 is from the numerator of the 4/3, 3.14 is pi, and 343 is from the 7 to the 3rd power. All over the denominator, 3 and 1/2 is just kind of hanging outside for now. We're going to ignore it. All right, go ahead and plug that in your calculator. 4 times divide. All right, what did you guys get? Did it start with 1,000? 1,400.02? Okay, now take that, and how can you multiply by 1/2? There's 2 ways, or 3 ways if you have a fraction key. Multiplying by 1/2 is equivalent to multiplying by 0.5, or it's equivalent to dividing by 2. You decide. Take that number you have, divide by 2, or multiply by 0.5. Starts with a 7. 71.0. You do put the 0.0. That shows that you did round. And what's our units here? Meters, meters squared, or meters cubed? Cubed. Volume is always units cubed. Questions? Okay, I'm going to do one from the back side, the next page, so quickly flip over. Keep in mind there is another page here that you do have to do as well that you will be working on eventually. Okay, from this one here, let's do one together. I'll do 15. And 20. Okay. The volume of a right cylinder is 448 pi. The diameter is 16. What is the height? Can everybody see that they gave you the volume, they're asking for the height? Are you working forward or backwards from the volume formula? You're working backwards. They're giving you the answer, you're working backwards. Okay, what's the formula for a cylinder, volume? Look at your other page if you're not sure. Cylinder volume is what? Area of the base times height. Big B times h. What's the area of the base if the base is a circle? Pi what? Come on, guys. If it's a circle, pi, I heard somebody say it. Pi what? Pi r squared, and then times the height. Here's the base. There's the height. Thank you. Pi r squared times height. Does that make sense? Okay. What do we know? What do we not know? Do we know the volume? What is it? 448 pi. Do we know the radius? Is the radius 16? Yes or no? The radius is what? Diameter is 16. The radius is 8. So pi times 8 squared times h. Okay. Now, I'm not going to plug pi in as 3.14, and I'm going to explain why. So I'm going to leave pi there. 448 pi equals 64 pi h. What is it that I'm trying to solve for here? What is my unknown? The height. Is it the height? Is that what they asked us from the beginning? What is the height? If I'm trying to solve for h, get h by itself, what should I divide both sides by? If I'm trying to get h by itself, what should I divide both sides by?
64.
Thank you. What else could I divide by at the same time? 64 pi. Now, do you see why I didn't plug in pi and make a decimal? Because what happens to pi's on both sides? The pi's cancel out. The 64 does as well, but a bonus, the pi cancels out everywhere. Okay, so in your calculator, you're plugging in 448 divided by 64, and that's going to be your height. 448 divided by 64, what is our height? 7, and what's our unit of measurement? Feet? 7 feet. Does that make sense? All right, I'm going to set up 16 with you guys. I know I said I was going to do 20. I want to set this up and just talk about the difference really quick. Okay, the height of a right cylinder is 12. The volume is 2,352 centimeters cubed. What is the radius? So this time, am I looking for the height still? No, I'm looking for the radius. Okay, same concept. Volume equals big B times h. Volume equals, what is big B if the base is a circle? Remember, big B stands for the area of the base. Pi r squared. All right, let's plug things in. What is the volume? 2,352 equals pi. Do we know r? Is that what we're looking for? Do we know it? No. R squared times what's the height? 12. Okay, here's where I'm going to pause and let you guys finish. A thing I want you to notice that's different from the last one. On this one, is there a pi on each side? Do you guys see that there's not a pi on each side? Everybody see that? So is dividing by pi going to cross it out? No. What you're going to have to do is multiply 3.14 times what number? Times what number? 12. So that's what you're going to have to do. Can you guys do that really quick? 3.14 times 12. 37 point what? Let's do, since there's only 2 decimal places after, let's do it all. 37.68 equals r squared. Okay, do I have a volunteer? We're not done. Can I have a volunteer explain why I worked pi into this one, into a decimal, but I did not on number 15? Does anyone understand that? Why on 15 I left pi as pi and crossed it out, but on 16 I plugged it in my calculator and got a decimal value? Does anybody know the answer to that?
Because there's no parentheses around the R.
Because there's no parentheses around the R. Technically, there could be. It's not going to change it. It has to do with this right here.
There's no pi after.
There's no pi over here, right? So because the pi's are not reducing like it did over here, I had to work it into a decimal. All right, you guys can finish this later. Can anybody tell me what the next step would be? I'm not going to do it, but what would it be? And I put an extra equal sign. I'm sorry, guys. That should be multiplication. Sorry. What would we do here to get the r squared by itself? Divide by the decimal. And after you divide by the decimal, what do you do to both sides to get rid of the squared? You what? Square root it. So divide and square root both sides. You can do that on your own. I'm going to jump to number 20. A sphere has a volume of 2,304 pi feet cubed. What is the diameter? What's the volume for a sphere? 1/3 or 4/3? 4/3 pi r squared or r cubed? Look at your formulas. R squared or r cubed? R squared or r cubed? R cubed. Okay. Is this working forward or is this another working backwards? They gave us the volume and they want us to find the diameter. Working forward or working backward? We're working backwards. Okay, let's plug in the volume. What's the volume? Pi equals 4/3 pi, and do we know the radius? Yes or no? Did they give us what the radius is? No, we need to find the radius so that we can find the diameter. R to the 3rd power. Makes sense so far? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Ask me a question. No question? What I'm doing so far, guys, I do need you paying attention, is this is given, well, it's not going to be given to you on test day, but it's given to you right here. And I'm just plugging in what I know and looking for what I don't know. V is volume. They gave me volume right here. The volume is that. I plugged it in for V. 4/3 is 4/3. Pi is pi. I'm looking for the radius so I can then find the diameter. So R is the unknown. Is this one where I'm going to plug in pi as a decimal? Yes or no? Am I going to plug it in as a decimal like I did over here? Or am I going to use it like I did on 15 where it reduces on both sides? What is that? It's going to be like 15. Will the pi's reduce on both sides? Yes or no? If you have a pi on both sides, don't plug it in, just reduce it out. Okay, 2304 equals 4/3 r cubed. Does anybody know what to do next? I'm trying to get r by itself. Divide by what? Divide by 4/3, and I heard times it by 3. Do you guys have, both ways work. I'd rather not divide by fractions. Dividing by a fraction is equivalent to multiplying by the reciprocal. So do you want to multiply by the reciprocal or take it one step at a time? Multiply by 3 and then the next step divide by 4. It's up to you guys. Abraham, since you're the one who said multiply by 3, I'll leave it up to you. Just by the 3?
Yeah.
Okay. So multiply both sides by 3. Can you plug that in your calculator? 2,304 times 3. What does that give you? 6,912 equals 3's gone, 4r cubed. Samantha, what's the next step? Divide by 4. 6,912 divided by 4, 1,000 and what? 728 equals r to the 3rd. Does anybody know what to do to both sides? What did I hear? Somebody said it. Okay, I'm going to tell you what my kids said yesterday. They were close. They said square root both sides. Should I square root or cube root? Cube root, because that's a cube power. So cube roots. Do you guys remember what these are called? Square roots and squares, cube roots and cubes. Something operation starts with an I and V. Inverse operations. Do inverse operations undo each other? Okay. If you have a scientific calculator, I will show you how to plug cube roots in your calculator. If you do not, you're just going to have to try numbers. 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. 6 times 6 times 6. 7 times 7 times 7. I already know that 10 times 10 times 10 is 1,000, so it's going to be bigger than 10. Just keep guessing numbers, times it by itself 3 times until it equals this number. Does anybody have a scientific calculator? Yes? Do you want me to show you how to plug it in? Well, you know, everyone's calculator is a little bit different, so I'm going to show you the easiest way to plug it in. Are you ready? Do you guys remember from a previous unit that, I'm going to bring this up here, cube root of 1728 is equivalent to 1728 raised to the 1/3 power. Do you guys remember that from a previous unit? You don't remember that? Square root was 1/2 power. Cube root was 1/3 power. Vaguely? Okay. So take 1728, exponent 1/3. 1728, my exponent key is here. It's a little caret key. Raised to the, and then 1 fraction 3. 1, my fraction, don't use your division key. Fraction key is there, 3. If you're going to use your division key, you need to use parentheses. And then your equal sign. If you don't like it that way, I could show you how to use your cube root key. It's a little different on different calculators, but I'm more than willing to show you. All right, so the big number, exponent 1/3. What does r equal? 12. All right, we've gone this far, and we're taking the multiple choice part of the test, and we see that as an answer. It's probably letter A, and we get it wrong. Can anybody tell me why this would be wrong if there's no errors in any one of our steps? Yes? It wants the diameter. Do you guys think that happens often enough that you get caught up in all, I mean, that's a lot of work. You get to the end, you're like, oh, there it is, I'm done. And then it's wrong. Be careful. They're asking for the diameter. If the radius is 12, what's the diameter? Be careful. Radius is the half one. Diameter is the full one. What is it? 24 feet. All right. I'm going to have you guys continue working. You're going to come back to this page. You're going to work here. We're going to check in. You're going to work here. We're going to check in. And then you're going to work on the back page as well. All right. Go ahead and start on your own.